Howdy everybody, here for a slightly longer video on, I guess what I would call mini hügelkultur beds for rhubarb. So I've had a lot of struggles with rhubarb. It's kind of too dry here. You don't need a truly wet site, but I'm basically on a big flat hilltop. All the water we get drains away pretty fast, and we have long, hot summers. So those two combined, the ground doesn't hold much moisture. So we really struggle with certain crops, rhubarb being one of them. One moment, I think the lens is dirty. One moment. That looks better to me, but I don't know if it's actually better. Anyhow, so I basically dug miniature hügelkultur mounds when I planted rhubarb. It's a good idea with one big problem. Rhubarb also really loves nitrogen, and I don't have any animals for any manure. So I didn't have manure to mix in. I literally just dug a hole, threw a bunch of logs in, and put the dirt back on top. And when this started, it was probably about 10 to 12 feet, 10 to 12 inches tall. So it was, it was a pretty decent sized mound. And because of how buried wood works, its first year it soaks up a ton of nitrogen. I should have left it for a full year before I bothered to plant anything other than maybe beans on it. But I stuck little bitty rhubarbs in there, and they struggled a lot their first year. My compost tea, I have videos on it. The compost tea is kind of what got them through. I'd couple times a year, maybe every other month, I'd give them a good drink of watered down compost tea, and they'd green back up and they'd look good again. But here we are on year 3, and I haven't cared for this at all year. We are, I believe this is actually filmed on July 1st. You may hear music and guns in the background, people enjoying themselves for the time of year it is. So that is what it is. Nothing against them, but it's July 1st. So all year, no additional water, no additional fertilizer, no additional care, and you can see it's getting chewed up pretty bad by the Japanese beetles. It's July, everything's going to be demolished by them here. But I didn't clean up anything here. I didn't pull the weeds out of the way. I wanted to give an honest to goodness look. Aside from the fact that we mow along this path, we haven't done anything here. I haven't weeded it. I haven't cared for it. The grass has grown up all around it. Where my toe is sort of where the mound, back here. Back here, the mound starts and it hits its peak right about there. So really, really small hügelkultur. Hügelkultur beds can be huge. They can be as tall as me or taller. They can be as long as my entire property lines. They can be built like swales, or they can literally be swales. These are just the most miniature hügelkultur I've ever seen anyone attempt. I'm sure someone else has done it. I don't claim that I am the first, but it's the first I've ever seen of someone trying one so small. So I wanted to make a video on this, talk about how successful it's been, and I'm going to pause the video now and walk to another spot that I have another one of these and show that it's not just a one-off. I have at least one other spot where this is doing just as well. See y'all in a minute. Alright, so here we are at the other really successful one. The weed pressure is even worse here. This is the middle of my food forest, which has become exceedingly weedy this year because I've been in very poor health and very busy. So, despite the insane amount of weeds, this one's doing even better. This one, because I mulched so heavily, you can even see the earth around it. It was a little bit taller when I made it, but not much. It's pretty short now. It's shrunk down. Same thing, this is about 3 years old. And it's just such a huge, gorgeous success. It's right next to some comfrey, and which all of that is underneath this apple tree, which is, the rust is really bad this year. We've had a really wet year. Quite bad rust on a lot of my more normal apple trees. I think this one's a Grimes Golden, actually. So the Grimes Golden are pretty bad, the Fujis are pretty bad, Gala are pretty bad, but sort of more of the homestead varieties are doing great. So yeah, looking at this, for a 3-year-old rhubarb that's being grown without a whole lot of added nutrients and added this and that, it's just been left alone, no weeding, no care. Occasionally, at least last year, I occasionally gave it some fertilizer water, but otherwise it's really had nothing helping it. It's been all on its own, and it looks pretty great to me. So I just wanted to sort of show my experience with super micro hügelkultur, I guess is what I would call that. Super micro hügelkultur, super small. Really good success. I'll show you next one that failed, because I did have one that I dug that really didn't do well, and that was because the weed pressure was simply too high, and I think it's just a little too shady, and possibly that it's a little too hot. So I'm going to pause now and see y'all at the next spot. Alright, here's the one that I would call failed. The rhubarb is actually still alive in there. It's not that it's truly a fail and that it's truly dead, but there is certainly a huge problem here of the goldenrod was highly established, had really great root system when I put it in, and so the goldenrod still could just take over and have total control in the area. I come back occasionally and cut it back pretty hard, but this has just kind of been the one failure out of the bunch. But that rhubarb hasn't given up yet. I occasionally come back and chop and drop everything around it. And I don't know what kind of bug that is. There's an interesting bug. If you don't like bugs, here's your chance to look away. Oh, it's moving. I might not catch it in time. It looks kind of like some kind of ground beetle, but it's way up high. Jaws like those, it's got to be some kind of predator. Pretty cool bug. Probably doing a lot of good in my garden. Probably eating a lot of slugs. So we're leaving him there. Alright, we're back to the rhubarb if you want to look back. But in closing, the micro hügelkultur mounds that I've tried all seem to be really successful. Just make sure that they don't become outcompeted by weeds, and maybe let them rest for 1 year with beans or other nitrogen fixers on top in order to make up that nitrogen deficiency in the first year or two, or add a lot of manure when you put them in. Alright, have a great one everybody, and I'll see you all in another video as soon as I can. Goodbye now.